GM, what is going on, everybody? We are back for another episode of Cup with Joe with W3JOE. That's Web3 Job Ops and Events. They power these spaces. We're here every Wednesday, every Friday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, doing our best to fill this next 30, 40 minutes with as much value as possible. We do so by bringing on dope people from the space to talk about how they were able to break into working in Web3 and how they're successful. Today, we're very happy and honored to be here with the one and only Jacob C. ETH. He's a valued contributor over at CoinFello, and we can't wait to hear his insights. Jacob, how are you doing today? Happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. No, it's a pleasure. I know you're a busy man, so don't want to take too much of your time, but do want to pick your brain a bit because I know you got a lot of insights to offer here. Also, shout out to everybody listening, Nikki, Diggy, Crypto, Cam, the homie, and also, of course, the CoinFellow account. Make sure to show them love there if you would like to check them out. Jacob, to kick off our conversation, I did my best to give an intro, but for the people who are maybe less familiar, could you let us know who you are, what you do, and how you got started doing it?
In CoinFellow, we have barely announced it all. So give that account some love. We haven't even verified it yet. And CoinFellow is still sort of in a semi-stealth mode at the moment. But sure. So just to kind of to rewind the clock. So I'm an old school Bitcoiner in early Ethereum. And I played the role of lead of operations and head of products for MetaMask. And I really believed and still believe that that these products play a really central role in bridging the gap of in helping people to enter the decentralized web. And so when I was at MetaMask, I had drawn a lot of conclusions about the challenges that people were having in using smart contracts, entering DeFi. We have a lot of people hold crypto. They stay in the centralized exchange ecosystem. They are not really exposed to DeFi, or those who are, they face a lot of challenges with phishing or just general frustrating user experiences or issues of discovery. And fast forward to today, we've actually started CoinFellow as the very, very first AI agent that is capable of what we call universal or generalized smart contract interactions. And so what that means is that from a simple chat interface, you can understand any smart contract, you can use any smart contract, or you can automate any smart contract. And you don't need to go to dApp front ends, like you don't need to go to the Uniswap website or the Aave website or OpenSea or any of those large dApps. You can do basically anything that you could do with a browser extension wallet. You can do from our chat interface. And that chat interface is wrapping your existing wallet and liquidity. It's built on top of what we call the MetaMask Smart Account Kit, which is a new embeddable smart wallet from MetaMask. You can actually grant it permissions of how much of the funds that are in your wallet you would like it to manage, and then it can go and carry out any interaction from a cross-chain swap, a batch of swaps. You could do something like, say, sell all the meme coins in my wallet for ETH. It will figure out context of what are the meme coins, present you a plan, and carry out a large swap. It can also it can take action on your behalf while you sleep to protect your interests. So, for example, there's been a lot of volatility and liquidity crises in the recent couple of months. And so let's say I've taken a DeFi loan position and I'm worried about being liquidated. I could ask it to automatically move my funds to make sure that my contracts are not liquidated. I can ask it to give me notifications if I get close to liquidation in any of my loan positions. And just in general, like this kind of a product, we believe is going to make using smart contracts much safer because it's going to explain to you what the smart contract says, not some separate website that says it's pointing to the real smart contract. That is a layer of trust that's dangerous. We've had, websites hacked to point at the wrong smart contracts, and people get phished, or they can't understand what a smart contract does. And today, the most people are still experiencing smart contracts as a sort of black box and hoping that they're using the smart contract that they believe they're using, and hoping that that smart contract doesn't have some sort of exploit or that it's not malicious. A trustless agent, similar to using ChatGPT or something like that, can summarize the smart contract for you in a far more accessible way. And so we think that that's going to be the future of crypto UX, and we've made some pretty big bets on that. Yeah, I'll kind of stop there.
Well, congrats, man. Congrats to you. Congrats to the whole team over at CoinFellow. I know as someone who's definitely never been described as the most technical, I think any way we can increase access for folks and obviously deal directly with that UX problem that crypto has in general is a good thing. So shout out to you and all the builders over there. Again, if you guys are listening, show some love to CoinFellow. Shout out to Brian who jumped in here. And I want to ask you before we get into the practical, like how to get hired, how to succeed in Web3 stuff. You've had quite a unique path in Web3, and you've had the opportunity to work with some pretty cool teams. Obviously, you're proud of CoinFellow. Are there any other milestones that you're like especially proud of since getting involved professionally in Web3?
So my first projects in the Ethereum ecosystem, I worked on an early grant funding DAO. It's not around anymore, but it was called Panvala. That was one of the earliest grant DAOs at Consensus. And at the end of 2019, I left that team and I joined the MetaMask team, and got to be a part of trying to solve the largest user experience problems around using Ethereum and smart contracts. And I felt like most people during that time period were making sort of small walled gardens for interacting with a set of smart contracts, or there were like a lot of embedded wallets that were inside of a single dApp. And for me, what really mattered was the interoperability of being able to carry your funds with you across multiple decentralized applications, being able to use those however you saw fit and complete, whatever it was that you wanted to do. And then, I really believed that, I'm still a big fan of MetaMask, and we're partnered closely with them, that this was going to allow people's liquidity to be much more liquid and to create an ecosystem of decentralized applications. And that was one of the core value propositions of Ethereum and of blockchains. So, I helped scale MetaMask from about 190,000 monthly active users to 31 million. Helped to figure out a sustainable business model and monetization path for the product. And then, I got the itch to start something new at the end of 2022. I had seen that a lot of the growth for MetaMask came from use cases like gaming and things like that. And so I actually started another company which is called Hyperplay, which is still around and still doing really well. The Web3 gaming market, it has faced some serious hurdles, and this year we sort of realized that our stack, when that we had built. So what Hyperplay does is it's a game distribution platform that allows the user to carry their MetaMask or Wallet Connect wallet into native or browser-based games, and to do transactions in an overlay, which is sort of similar to the Steam overlay if you're a gamer. And so we built a lot of that tech, and we built a lot of like wallet wrapping tech. And we realized that if we combined this with a self-sovereign AI model, then we could basically give the user's wallet superpowers. And so that sort of became the genesis of CoinFellow, and we started building CoinFellow um, this summer, and are very close to publicly launching that. Um, yeah.
Beautiful. That's well, dope, man. I'm glad that we could support you where we can. Hopefully, get you some follows and some clicks. We do have a couple tweets from the CoinFellow account pinned up top if you guys want to show love there. Now, Jacob, for folks listening, and they maybe want to get started with a more official role in Web3. What advice do you have for actually getting that initial conversation started with a potential employer, whether that be digitally, through a DM, at an event, through maybe some value add of some sort? What's some advice you can offer there?
Sure. Well, so I can tell you for us, the like we want to hire people that are in the ecosystem and that believe in this technology and that are using it. So, we actually have a policy, like we won't hire people that don't have, if you don't have like an ENS name and a lot of transactions in the history of your wallet, it's kind of like a automatically disqualifying thing. So, people ask me like investment advice too, and I don't give investment advice, but I usually will just tell people like the first thing you should do is find things that are interesting to you and use them and be a part of it. Be a part of Web3 communities, try things, use them. For us, like obviously, like we want people to join our early whitelist, be a part of giving feedback on this product. It's very powerful to combine a self-sovereign AI model, like it's like your own ChatGPT that's running on top of your wallet and that's able to do transactions on your behalf. Like that is very powerful, and it involves a lot of really complex technical problems for us to solve. So we want people to get started trying it, giving us feedback, be a part of our community. That's super important to us. You don't need to expose all of the funds of your wallet to try it. You can actually grant permission for a small amount of funds from your wallet, and then just start experimenting with things, try things out, and give us feedback.
Jacob, for those ENS transactions, do they have to be like positive PNL? Can they? What if you're like a really
No,
bad trader? Do you guys like mark off points for that?
no.
No.
I think the main thing is I think for us, like we just don't want to hire people that are not real users of this technology or that don't really understand it. And so, you get a lot of people who, like, I don't know, actually, I was just talking to a friend who, he just, his sole entry into the crypto ecosystem was like buying XRP on Coinbase, and he thinks he's like really into crypto. And like that's a very different thing than like going and trying a DeFi protocol or being a part of a DAO community or something like that. And so, we are an organization that believes in utility and creating value and doing things that are value additive. And so, we're going to optimize towards people that are using these products and that have thoughtful insights about them and that have had experiences with them and that know the kinds of problems that we need to solve as an ecosystem. If someone has never, I used to joke when I was in Consensus and MetaMask, like there was a lot of people in like especially like there were like people in certain functions like that had never used MetaMask, and that was always something that was like so outrageous to me. Like just for people to try to understand the culture or what this ecosystem is, they have to be in it, and so that's sort of the starting point. Other than that, like I encourage people to think in a sort of we call it expert generalism. So it's like try to understand all of the different problems, not just your own function. Like, don't just be a designer and think about designs. Like, you need to also try to understand what the problems are on the engineering side, or what the problems are that users are facing. And a lot of people, when they enter the crypto ecosystem, they have very naive understandings of what it takes to solve the user experience problems. Like, a lot of the infrastructure is still pretty immature. It's not really possible to build a lot of the things that people want to build. And the only way that they really they really solve that is by really using these products, really coming to understand the different layers of the stack, and um, you know building in a way where uh, you're actually understanding the underlying technological problems. Yeah, I'll give you an example of this. Like, it's very common for people when they're new to try to ignore things like or to like abstract away things like the network that a user is using. They think, well, users shouldn't have to know what chain that they're using. But those chains actually have complex, different risk profiles associated with them. There isn't seamless cross-chain transactions today. Sending to someone who's using Optimism while you're using Arbitrum is not the same. And so, to go back to your question, like, we need people who understand the technical complexity of what they're trying to build, or what the technical complexity of the problems are, so that we can actually innovate in the user experiences and abstract those away. And for us, I mean, on those user experience problems, we think that self-sovereign AI models are the best way to actually abstract away a lot of that technical complexity. But if you want to abstract that away, you first have to understand it yourself. And that's why it's so critical to hire people in this ecosystem that understand it and that are real users of it, that are not on the sidelines of it or just speculators or something like that.
Yeah, I think oftentimes it can be an issue where folks are so passionate, maybe just about the idea, or like the Web3 space in general, or blockchain in general, that they kind of just rush to wanting a role in Web3 or in blockchain. And that's cool. And like, that's a great place to start. But, to your point, you really want to dive into different chains, different projects, different protocols, different verticals, whether it be RWA or DPIN or meme coins or NFTs or art or whatever it is. Dive in specifically somewhere, because it can get pretty specific, and you want to make sure that in order to add the most value that you can, that you actually, like you said, you're a user, you're an active member of the community prior to trying to be anything official. On that note, what are some of your favorite interview questions to either ask or to prepare for as a candidate?
I guess, I mean, so there's the one I already gave you, which is, I try to understand how a candidate's like what a candidate's experience in Web3 is and what they found valuable or interesting. And then it's not just, what, has this candidate used these things, but can this candidate actually talk through the problems that they experienced, or talk through something that they want to solve, and or something that they've done in the ecosystem. And usually people can give you a cursory response to those questions, but if you then ask them, two or three times to walk you through, what it is that they did, or what it is that they're trying to accomplish, a lot of times you can find out this person doesn't actually understand these things, or hasn't actually used these things, or hasn't actually built something meaningful in the crypto ecosystem. And so, um, we want people to be able to talk through layers of a problem, and to go from the generalized to the more particular, to go through understanding layers of a problem. So I'll try to talk through that style multiple times with a candidate, both about, both about their specific function. So whether that person is an engineer, a community manager, a product designer, and then to help understand how they understand our product and how they understand our ecosystem. And we want people to be experts in their function, and we want people to be experts in uh, in what our product is and what it contributes to the ecosystem. One of the worst things I can tell you is like often I'll start off an interview with a candidate, and they will just like start rambling for like half of the interview about their previous job credentials and just say like, oh well, I had this job and then I had this job and then I went to school here. And I can't tell you how much I literally don't give a fuck about those things. So the goal is to understand what this person knows and what their skills are and what they've accomplished, not like a list of credentials. Credentials are essentially meaningless. So, or maybe slightly above meaningless. So, the goal is to understand, um, how the person thinks, what problems they want to solve, what problems have they solved in the past, and for them to be able to describe those things with a lot of, with a lot of detail. And, you know, I guess also I would say for someone who's an interviewer, don't just don't let someone just answer the question. Like you should at least ask two times, maybe three times, like tell me more about that and help get deeper into the way that the person thinks.
Yeah, that makes sense. I appreciate the advice on both sides there. Um, I think it's definitely important to make sure you're having a conversation, right? And you're not talking at someone and you're going into the interview like this is my pitch. Which, it's good to have like a rough idea of like what your accomplishments and highlights are, of course. But you don't want it to feel like a pitch because that's, our attention spans, man. Attention is a scarce resource in 2025 going into 2026. It's not something you want to waste. Um, Absolutely. So good tips. And how about when it comes to negotiating? We had a take a couple weeks ago on this show. Uh, my original question was, when is it appropriate? When is it not appropriate to negotiate? And the individual said, well, you should always negotiate. It's always appropriate to negotiate. And if someone doesn't negotiate, it says something. It's not necessarily negative, but it does something. What are your thoughts on that? And in general, what's some advice on successfully negotiating an offer?
I think something that would, well, both for people that want to be successful and people who want to show that they're serious about the employer that they're joining. Like, I respect it a lot more if a person wants less salary and greater token allocation or greater equity allocation, because that signals that the person believes in the long term of the product and the project, and they're gonna be values aligned with the long-term success of the product. When someone doesn't value those things and they are just looking for a high salary, that is a pretty large red flag to me. Um, Salaries themselves, they're difficult to, like, you'll have bull market periods where people will get astronomical salaries, and then bear market periods where salaries tend to be, pretty much on the lower end. um, i I try to mainly mirror the salaries that are in web 2, because those tend to be a little bit more stable and less like vanity metrics. And I think the person, should be paid fair market value. Um, I think that that's super important. But for people that are serious about long-term success, both for themselves and for the company, like, it's a lot better in the startup environment that almost all of the crypto companies in this space are. for the person to take like a large equity package as opposed to a large salary and to be incentivized by that. And that is, both how I personally made money of significance, and also how, I think the vast majority of successful people have made their money. It's not through a big ass salary.
Yeah, good take. Definitely appreciate your perspective as somebody again who has that more senior level view on things, because it's important to consider. And then also just reminding folks that like it's important to look at the whole package, right? It's like what do you want, what do you need, and then what are they offering you in terms of salary, in terms of bonus, in terms of token, in terms of equity, in terms of vacation, in terms of perks, in terms of team culture, all of these things, right? Um,
And do you believe in the future of the business compared
right.
to other businesses? Like if somebody's like a hired gun and they just care about a big salary, like you should probably go work in Web 2. They pay more, it's more stable. But if you're really entrepreneurial and you believe that we're going to transform the world economy in meaningful ways, then this is the space for you.
We are just about at time. I got a few more questions before I let you go, Mr. Jacob. Shout out to everybody in here who's joined, whether you're listening live here on X or on the recording on Spotify or YouTube. We appreciate you. On that note of stability, Jacob, I think it's an important topic to touch on, especially for folks who have never actually been full time or part time in the space. What can you share on the aspect, the context of stability in Web3, and how different that is from traditional Web2, and what folks should know about that?
Sure. Well, there are very few companies. I mean, there's a handful of companies that are commercially profitable in Web3 today. Um, that's like large core infrastructure projects, for the most part. MetaMask, some of the RPC infrastructure providers, and then most people are, they're building for future long-term value, or they're running a scam. And I would not recommend working for the latter. Don't work for a short-term token puppy organization. You might make money in the short term, but you'll find that your reputation is burned. People won't respect you. Um, and, you know, uh, reputation and, having integrity are very, very important. And I've held those as core principles for myself. And I think it served me very well, even if, I had opportunities that I passed on that I could have made a lot of money on. I think, having integrity and having you know, being able to work with people that I respect and that respect me is much more valuable than that ever will be. Um, the other businesses that are going to be stable are, like the centralized exchanges. Those are not so much, not really Web3 companies. Like they're going to feel more like Web2 companies working there, and that's sort of basically what they are. Um, the but the I think the reality of the space is that for most people, you're going to end up working for a high risk protocol or startup, and that means that your exposure to huge rewards and really amazing outcomes is very high, but the risk that that business may not be around in a year is also very high. And so, you're taking an entrepreneurial decision in this space to be a part of a community, a DAO, an early startup, um, and to have your financial outcomes bound to that other business. So you should choose one you really believe in and understand. It's not just about getting a job. And then, when you hopefully have great successes, like, that plays a big role, and it'll also carry into your future roles, and you'll be able to, like, it's not just about the rewards that you're going to get in the short term for the the first project that you work on, you're going to gain huge lessons and user experiences that you can carry with you and create more value. Like for me, the first project I worked on was very much, it was a grant funding DAO. It was not a super profitable project, but the lessons and the aspects of the tech stack that I learned from it, I carried those into my work at MetaMask, and that really made my personal career.
Yeah, good points. How do you, on that topic of success, how do you define success in your role?
Hmm. Well, I'm founder and CEO for CoinFellow, so that means that I consider my job to do whatever it is that that CoinFellow needs. And so, I want to. I mean, for us, our vision is to completely transform how people use the internet and the financial system, and uh, we see self-sovereign AI as the most important user experience innovation for accomplishing that. And so, I don't take a tribalist view of our project versus others. I want the vision that we want to see come into being happen. And so we take a collaboration approach to other projects that are quote unquote competitors. And I try to learn from others. I try to build as a community, and I try to do the things that are going to create the most value for the business. And I everyone in our org shares that culture. We don't really hire people that are like, I just get my work done. We hire people who are entrepreneurial in their thinking about the business and that are trying to solve major problems, that are trying to innovate and build. And by hiring people like that, we can solve a lot of a lot of problems are not specific to one's function. It's not just a design problem, or it's not just an engineering problem or a community problem. Like it requires thinking at multiple layers of the organization and the business and the product. And by hiring people that have that entrepreneurial mindset, then as a whole organization, we we create a lot more value. And also like we argue with each other a lot and try to find the best things to do because it's a it's a culture that is trying to solve problems and that's trying to innovate. And there's not a set formula for it. And that's core to building these early stage businesses in our industry.
And so, for folks listening, how can they better support or best support your work and your team's work over at CoinFellow?
Yeah, so we're looking for early signups of people that want to be testers. If you go to coinfellow.com, you can sign up for the waitlist, and we're getting feedback from people building out this product. That's the biggest thing we need. We are also, I mean, I'll also just say for builders in the space, we're going to be opening up CoinFellow as a product that other people's products can consume. So it will be an AI agent that you can also put inside of your own product, whatever that might be. We want to talk to both developers and end users, get feedback, and build in a feedback loop with people who believe in the future of this business.
Amazing. There you go, folks. Devs are deving. Tap in with CoinFellow. Jacob, thank you so much for the time, man. Just one more question for you. Any final words, final thoughts that you'd like to leave listeners with in regards to either getting hired in Web3 or progressing their careers in Web3?
Sure, I guess I would say to work in this ecosystem, the number one thing for me is like you should be someone that believes in the future of these products and what we're trying to affect in society. Let's not try to recreate the old, the old financial system or the old internet with its centralization and monopolies. Like, let's try to build things that really empower everyone in society and give them control over their financial destiny. And I think if you focus on that and you focus on the big picture problems and what we're trying to affect in society, then everything that you do in this space will be much more interesting and valuable in the long term, and that will reap, personal rewards for you. Going and working at like Pump Fun or some like meme coin factory, it's not going to like it may make you a lot of money in the short term, but it's not going. It will destroy your reputation, and it destroys who you are as a person. And I want to challenge everyone to understand that there are very high stakes for the outcome of this industry, and whether these products will be something that we're proud to be a part of. And this is the time where we have to be a part of that as an ecosystem, and solve real problems, understand what impacts these things have on society, and become an expert not just in your own silo, but understand the development of crypto as a category.
Could not have said it better myself, Jacob. Man, it's been a pleasure having you on. I'm really glad we could do this. Welcome back anytime. Believe in the future. The stakes are high, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first. Shout out to Nikki. Shout out to Thomas, Diggy, Crypto Cam, Joshua, Powerful, Liam, Marco, and of course the CoinFellow account for stopping by. Anyone listening live on the recording here on X, on YouTube, or Spotify, we appreciate you. And once again, Jacob, thank you, man. It's been a pleasure. Welcome back anytime, and wishing you a great rest of your 2025.
Thanks so much, everybody.
All right, that's our show, gang. Y'all know the drill. We appreciate you. We are rooting for you, and we will see you soon.